Happy Sunday, folks. Welcome to the Field of 68's Best Bets show presented by BetRivers. We are the three-man weave. We are here to take you through the Sunday slate. And guys, we had to do a Sunday show because the Monday slate is poor. There are 8 games, nothing worth talking about. So we had to get in on Sunday before these NFL games kick off. Before we get to the games, Kai, Matt, any takeaways from yesterday? Kai, I will start with you.
Jim, you know what it's going to be. I watched our Missouri Tigers, and wow, what a fight. We put up the fight. We went into Fog Allen, and we said, not today, Kansas. You're not going to beat us today. And then we lost by like 30. Matt, it was expected. I think KU's goal is to put up 100. Yeah. They succeeded. Congratulations, Kansas. You beat us. Darn it.
Oh, it was competitive. That's for sure. Jim, I mean, the takeaway for me is Zona is your kitty cats.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, the Illini came out hot, stomped on them early. The home crowd was rocking. They had all the juice and momentum, but just a calm, poised team, man. And there is no disputing where they fall in the overall pantheon right now in college basketball. That's a top 5 team, top 3, maybe.
Yeah, it's top 3 for me, maybe top 2, and maybe not 2, Matt. How about that?
Wow.
They took an 18-0 run from Illinois and
that's
still
impressive.
won. Illinois hit 16 threes in a crazy environment, and they still won. Man, I'm all in on this Arizona. That was part of my takeaway. The other is just a quick nod to Xavier. They own Cincinnati at Cintas. I mean, I was wrong about that. I will say it over and over. I will be giving Cintas 10 points of home value in the future when those two teams meet in that rivalry game. It's just worth that much for them. So, man, heck of a performance by the Musketeers. All right, guys, shall we get into the slate?
Let's do it.
All right, let's start with the early tip, just because it's in 15 minutes. Miami, Florida, and Fordham going to battle in Brooklyn. This one's at Barclays. Kai, are we giving Fordham any home since it's in the city here? And
it's going to be a rock.
There's going to be a ton
the Ram
of
Nation. They're coming.
They're
coming in hot.
They're going to be out there.
Is there going to be a single fan in the stands? I'm not sure in this one.
I think KD was courtside yesterday. I saw him eating some nachos there.
Oh,
was it Brooklyn? I think so.
Yeah.
One of the neutral.
I don't think he's getting there.
He's a diehard Ram fan, Jim. He bleeds Fordham red.
I tell you what, Jim, as far as this game goes, I liked Miami at the opener, but gosh, 9.5, 10 now. I don't think Fordham is quote unquote trash, Matthew, anymore. That's too much for Miami to lay. I'd probably start skewing towards the Rams, but staying away at that price.
It was just shocking to see the market pounce on Miami so emphatically. We saw them slam Fordham against LIU last game. And I think that's more just an indictment of people realizing that LIU is stinky bad and they collapsed like a lawn chair in the second half.
Fold them like laundry, baby.
It was not good. But Jim, I don't know. Miami is a favorite. I think it's the right side here, but it's not something I'm excited to lay points with. The team I'm not excited to lay points with. And I think Kai's right. The number just got too out of hand at this point.
Yeah, it can be dead environment. They have to do the travel, like regardless of fan atmosphere, the travel matters a little bit.
Yep.
Fordham doesn't stink. I guess maybe under could be an angle. Fordham's defense is better than their offense still, despite it not still being a Neubauer team. Really early tip, could be sleepy. The crowd's not going to give the game any juice, as we mentioned. So we'll definitely lean towards the under from a total perspective as well. All right, let's keep moving. Let's get to the big one, guys. The big kahuna. Apparently, Jordan B in the chat is going to be there. We are jealous.
That's awesome.
Villanova on the road at Baylor. We love Villanova playing these on-campus true road games, top 10 games. They went to UCLA earlier this year. Now they're going to Baylor. This one's going to be a heck of a game. Matt, we just saw Villanova go 13 for 50 from 3 against Syracuse. I mean, are they going to be that poor shooting the ball again? And then the other aspect I think this matchup is very relevant is Baylor's potential paint dominance against a relatively thin Villanova front line. How do you see this one shaping up?
To me, this comes down to one player, James Akinjo. He is I would say not an enigma, but in some regards, he can be such. A little bit volatile, a little bit erratic at times. Now, this is a nitpick high. When I watch Baylor play, I sometimes get the vibes that he gets into the way of their fluidity and their continuity on offense. Now, whenever I look at his stats and I see like 6 assists a game, he's kept his turnovers down the last few. Although in that VCU game, he had turned it over 7 times and they still I think won pretty comfortably there. I think he's the key. He played awesome against Michigan State. I think it's another big game where he shows up, plays his best. He has to be a defer first guy. It's sort of like the Remy Martin situation at Kansas, where I think they're struggling to integrate him, but they can figure that out. I mean, Baylor team, this guy's the limit for them. I think this is their spot at home. But man, Nova's been road tested, so I don't know.
Yeah, these home favorites continue to do pretty well, or home dogs, but these home teams in these matchups, these non-con matchups. I promise there's a thing here, and maybe I'm just anecdotally thinking that. Notre Dame yesterday. Look at them beating Kentucky, for instance.
Yeah, everyone but Arizona. That's the
everyone but Arizona. They're a different animal.
Yep.
Villanova, we've talked about a couple times. They had that big Tennessee neutral win, but they missed out on those massive wins at UCLA against Purdue. I think they could get this one done today. I am also worried, Jim, about the paint, Thamba and Chachua. They have to keep them off the glass. Obviously, that's probably their key, but Villanova, essentially the best ball handling team in the country. They just don't make mistakes. And that's always a good team to bet on. I think it's 1 to 2 possessions either way in this game. Maybe not a totally hot take and a 4-point spread here. I really think Villanova can take it. I lean their way.
Yeah, it just feels like Villanova's got to get one of these. They've had the opportunities, haven't been able to come through. Going to be a lot of switching in this game. Both teams are hyper switchable. Villanova switches like everything 1 through 5. Baylor will at times. With Sohan and Brown, they become just lethal doing that. So going to be a little bit of a chess match. Both coaches are as good as it gets. So that's going to be a kick my feet up and enjoy that one, fellas.
I think both defenses are underrated in that game. Nova is 32nd in KenPom. I just think teams have made shots against them. I think their defense really shows out today. That's like the surprising side of the ball that really pops.
All right, let's stay in New York. Or actually not stay. We'll head back to Brooklyn. I've got a couple of those games on the outline here. Going to Florida. We're going to Maryland. Man, Florida might be back after their seemingly aberrational loss to Texas Southern. And Maryland might be bad now that Danny Manning has taken over. I'm struggling to put a rating on Maryland that I feel confident in here, Kai. Just with the coach change and the weird kind of I just don't know what's going on in the locker room there. I would lean towards Florida just because I don't really want to get involved with Maryland right now, but on a neutral 5 is probably about right at this point, right?
Yeah, you have to think Maryland kind of just goes downhill from here. The home loss to Northwestern in Manning's debut was telling. It's like, all right, I guess this is what we're going to get here. 3 straight losses for Maryland, Matt. They have no elite wins. The resume is just it's not good right now. They need this win. I think Florida's defense is too good. There's just too many switchable athletes in this team. I don't think Danny Manning has the schematics to crack it, putting it politely. So I'm actually leaning towards Florida. The spread feels right about right. But I really have no confidence in this Maryland team.
Yeah, I guess the key matchup here is Colin Castleton up front. Maryland has a couple of bodies to throw at him. With Wahab being the key guy there, has the length and prerequisite size to challenge. And I think that's Florida's best offensively, right? They've changed their offense this year. They're playing more off-ball movement, kind of that mover blocker type of thing, but they play through Castleton a ton inside. If you can take that away, I give Maryland a puncher's chance, but Castleton's been so good this year, man. Even with Wahab's length, I think he can get his. I lean Florida for sure. It's hard to take Maryland under any circumstance right now.
Yeah, the Florida offense is weird because they tried to go 5 out a bunch this year too, and then went away from it a bunch against Texas Southern and kind of came back to it last game. They're hard to figure out, tough nut to crack. Again, we praised Mike White early on. The defense has been fantastic, but there's been some unevenness to it. So I am also staying away here, waiting to figure out Maryland a little bit more. And maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just be fading Danny Manning, but not quite to the auto fade yet. I think there's a little bit of unlocked or untapped potential in that team.
Ken Ray asked the under in this game. Total's gotten bet down a ton. It's moved 4 points. I don't have too much of a lean there.
Yeah, both defenses are probably better than both offenses. That's relatively
a lot of length for I could buy under. Sure. Sold. In.
All right, let's stay in the area, the metropolitan area. Kind of. We'll head over to Seton Hall. Thank you, Kai. Appreciate it. Hey, it was a huge day for New Jersey a couple of days ago as both Rutgers and Seton Hall got massive, massive wins at home. Rutgers obviously taking down number 1 Purdue and a buzzer beater. Seton Hall clips Texas in a narrow win for our Matty Cox there. Well done, sir. Now these two get to face each other. So you can't really expect a letdown spot because this is a massive rivalry game. Both fan bases going to be amped for this one. Kai, there is the Ron Harper Jr. versus Jared Roden rivalry, matchup within the matchup here. Looking forward to that. There's personnel issues too. We don't know if Geo Baker will be available. I'm guessing no. Sounds like Obiagu probably out for Seton Hall as well. So they're big rim shot blocking menace. Kai, I don't know. What do you see here? Does either of these teams really come out and lay the smackdown?
Yeah, the battle for New Jersey, Jim. I wrote down the Roden Harper matchup. This is going to be fun to watch. Seems like two equal parts going at it.
Yeah, I mean, our top 100 players, that particular matchup got chirped a few times.
Yeah. Right. Matt, Rutgers on the road, not good. 0-3 straight up and against the spread. The losses, UMass DePaul and 25-point loss to Illinois. Obviously, they're not going too far to Seton Hall in this game, but I do think that's a factor. And I do think Geo Baker will matter in this game. Clearly didn't matter against Purdue, but that was a home run spot for them. Matt, Seton Hall 6-1 against the spread at home as well. Those two factors are kind of leading me towards Seton Hall. I just think they're way better. They have blowout potential. They've shown they have blowout potential against other teams this season. I think Rutgers could really struggle to score tonight.
I kind of think Rutgers can score efficiently enough to keep this within a number. I'm pretty strong lean for the Scarlet Knights here. Kai, you mentioned the pretty stark chasm between home and road Rutgers, but you also mentioned it's a stone's throw away. It's going to be pretty easy travel. I actually was sort of discouraged by some of Seton Hall's defensive efforts in that Texas game. I thought Texas got a lot of good looks. They really missed Ike Obiagu once he went down. I worry that he maybe is in a security blanket that that you remove that from the back end. Is Seton Hall as dominant defensively as we've kind of touted them to be? They're still really good. They're not as elite without him. I think that's a big loss. I think he's the bigger absence in this game than Geo Baker. I think this is an ugly game, plays similarly to the Rutgers Purdue game we just saw, and the Scarlet Knights lose by 5-6. I think it's a 1-2 possession game late.
Yeah, it feels high for a rivalry game, but the home Seton Hall splits, road Rutgers splits that Kai cited, I think are fairly telling for these two teams. Rutgers without the rack crowd has been bad. It's just there's just not a lot there offensively. So without that kind of juice pumping them, I don't trust them. Stay away from me there, unfortunately. All right, Rutgers, by beating Purdue, got to stay ahead of them on the outline today, guys. So Purdue comes in after them here before the chat mob break. Purdue taking on NC State. This one is also in Brooklyn. Matt, do we get the like angry number one team comes out and dominates here? The line has been bet up, it appears. They've got a clear matchup advantage in the paint. I think they should be able to feed Edey and Williams all day, force double teams, get on the glass. Are we concerned at all about NC State's drivers and getting the big guys in space, or do you think it's just a Purdue smash?
Yeah, if Kevin Keats can play that chess match effectively, maybe they can, play Williams and Edey off the floor. But I think that's just such an overplayed narrative. Purdue's too good. They have other wing athletes they can throw at those dudes. Even as awesome as Sebron's been this year, Helms has been ho-hum. Cam Hayes has really blossomed. It's just a tough spot for NC State, man. Like the worst thing that could have happened was Purdue losing. And then now you have to get the angry Boilers coming to meet you on the hardwood, Kai. It's a big number, but Purdue's really good. I'm not going to take it. I would lean NC State if I had to go one way, but just the spot and the potential just vengeance coming from Purdue here scares me.
Yeah, I threw a little penny on NC State at 14, and I would not recommend it.
Did you?
'Cause I'm not pumped about fading angry Purdue. I still think they're a top 3 team in the country. Most people probably do as well. Yeah. And NC State just hasn't been that good. In fact, Jim, they have the worst ATS record in the ACC. They're 1-8 against the spread. Oh. That's not good. I do think it's going to be a bloodbath inside on the glass. This is where Manny Bates would have been really helpful for NC State, obviously out for the year. That's no good. Sebron's been awesome though, guys. Jim mentioned a couple times on our group chats. He's been incredible. I think they can maybe hang around, but I'm not confident in this at all. Numbers just a tad high for me.
Yeah, it does feel high, but like Purdue has shown the ability to absolutely destroy teams that aren't really in their weight class. I mean, look what they did to Florida State at home. That was, I think, like the example you can point to here. If you're like, I just think Purdue wins by 20 because they've beaten an ACC team by 20 before. That was at home though. So I don't know. We'll see. Kai, let's go to chat mob. Before we do, everybody make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. As the Field of 68 mentioned today, if we get to 1,000 subscribers by Friday, our man Rob Doster is giving out $100 to 5 people. So let's try to get that subscription count up. All right, Kai, let's go.
Well, Matt, let's start with a game that I want no part of: Lipscomb and Tennessee State. Yikes! How do you break that one down? Regale me.
To the old time Nashville, I don't know. Is this really a rivalry? They're both schools are in Nashville, so that's of note. Tennessee State continues to be a whack-a-mole team for us.
They make no sense.
Make no sense.
They don't make
They're
sense.
mega talented on a relative basis, and they should be better. But I think there's some weird locker room things going on with Hurst Miller leaving the team. If anything, it's Lipscomb for me, Kai, but no play here.
Can't play him without Asana Sajula, so I don't know if he's out of the lineup.
There lies
he's
the rub.
worth like 10 points. I don't know. That's a stay away,
that's
guys.
a watch. I honestly, where the line is right now, if Sajula is starting, I would smash Lipscomb.
Yep.
But it seems like he's probably going to be out.
Is it fair to call him Trevion Williams light? Just in what he does for that offense when okay, you guys love that comparison. Either you got or
I'm fine with it. I'm not.
I'm trying to contextualize what Asadula means for those who haven't seen Lipscomb play this year. He's just like a massive big guy who's just really good.
They run everything through him.
Yes.
Jim, Cal Baptist, UC Riverside. Spreads come down 5.5 now at BetRivers in favor of the Highlanders.
Yeah, this one I've had a tough time with. It's a massive rivalry game, like huge crosstown, like they're 8 miles apart or something like that, 9-minute drive. The crowd will be hyped for this. Like Riverside's going to have a really good home crowd. I think that matters a little more than the lack of travel. But I don't really want to bet against Taron Armstrong.
Yeah, that's Matthew. Not fun. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm closer to punching back with Riverside, but I just think this is going to be a close game. Don't want to go against Armstrong. Reed Nottage sat out last game for Cal Baptist, one of their best shooters, one of the guys that really capitalizes on all of Armstrong's passing. If he's out, that hurts, but I kind of feel like he'll be back. It seems like maybe they were just resting him ahead of a big, well, not resting him, but letting him get back healthier before a big rivalry game. So probably sitting it out. Boring, I know. I apologize.
I like over. I think both teams can score pretty efficiently here. Cal Baptist can't really guard people. That's the problem with Cal Bap.
How about Colgate and St. John's? Little New York flavor here. Jim, let's go to you. 7 is the spread right now, St. John's.
Kind of think St. John's has to cover a game at some point, right?
Maybe.
The old do theory.
Maybe.
Yeah,
is that possible?
I
was kind of impressed with St. John's against Monmouth. It's going to sound silly because they only won by 5 and didn't cover, but they were up like 10-12 that entire second half. Monmouth really just hung around impressively and was able to get it done late and close the gap. No one on Colgate can guard Julian Champagny. He is like the ultimate matchup problem for them. They don't have a 6'7" athletic guy to throw at him. It's more centers and shooters. So I think Champagny goes nuts. If you have player props, perhaps a Champagny over points total would be worth a look. And I lean towards the Johnnies, despite Colgate probably being a little more disciplined, a little better coached.
Matthew, your alma mater, Indiana Hoosiers, are hosting Merrimack.
Yep.
20-point spread. Too high, too low. Assembly Hall, rocking, we assume.
It should be a bloodbath in the paint. But I do think Indiana is aided by the fact they just played Syracuse. I know it's a different kind of zone that Merrimack plays, but just at least getting accustomed to live game reps against a non-man-to-man set defenses is going to play well here. And I think Race Thompson and TJD are great interior passers. They'll play off one another in the zone. Maybe IU makes some shots today. If they do, it'll be a blowout. But if not, could get ugly, man. Merrimack is Gonzaga didn't play Gonzaga close, but it was fairly competitive. They have the propensity to mitigate their lack of size with trickery in the way they change defenses. It's very amorphous. So I do like Indiana, Kai, but Merrimack does scare me as a large dog.
Matt Legshow in the chat said these two are combined 4 and 15 to the under. Would you buy that here? Does Merrimack kind of control the tempo a little bit?
I would, very much so. There's no way this becomes a track meet. I think Merrimack definitely controls the pace. I like the under in on that take. So
last one before the rundown, Jim. Charleston Presbyterian. I really have no feel here. Love betting on Charleston. That's what I do know.
Yeah, they've taken a little bit of money. I mean, this is ultimate tempo tug of war. Like Charleston wants, I think they have the fastest tempo in the entire country right now.
Up there, yeah.
Presbyterian is really towards the bottom, slow, wants to play half court and grind it out. I kind of think Charleston has a better shot at controlling this because they're more talented. They're at home, but I'm not really going to give that to the over. They've taken a little bit of money up. I think it's like up from 9.5 to 10. I don't know. Presbyterian's a feisty dog. I have to stay away, unfortunately, even though I love Charleston this year. I just can't quite fade Presbyterian as a dog.
I like Presbo here. Sneaky talented. Sneaky talented.
All right, Jim, rundown. I got some holstered for chat mob round 2.
All right, back to it. Well, Kai, we're going to go right back to you for the next one on the
Fantastic.
rundown. That is Virginia Tech at Dayton. And we probably should have mentioned it with NC State earlier, but the ACC has been so bad in non-conference games. I mean, just even yesterday, Syracuse dropping one to Georgetown is really bad for them. That's not good. Right? Clearly, you can go basically down the line in the entire conference and just pick out all the errors that they have made, and it's going to be tough for them to get more than like 3.5, 4 teams into the NCAA tournament. Like the line would probably be around there, which is crazy. But we've got a Mike Young team going on the road to Dayton. Kai, it seemed like the Flyers sort of had things figured out. They covered 5 in a row before they lost at SMU. Mm-hmm. What do you think here? Does Mike Young get his big road win that he needs?
I think he does. Yeah, I think Virginia Tech wakes up here. They need this win. The 19-point home loss to Wake was super bizarre. Wake was 72% from inside the arc. I mean, they just decimated them. They got back, Matt, in the next game against Cornell. They killed Cornell, a good Cornell team. I think they can get it done here. Remember, Dayton has those 3 home losses. UMass Lowell, Lipscomb, and Austin Peay all came at home. I'm not saying it's not a good home court. It is a good home court usually. I just think VT is kind of categorically better. So 2-point spread is pretty small for me. ACC has sucked, but I think they get it done here. Their defense is sound, and Mike Young, for me, pretty big advantage over Anthony Grant.
Yeah, I'm with you. My only reasons for not taking Vatech here is I think the matchup the front line physicality and size that Dayton can boast. I think that gives VT problems, right? We talked about the Wake game. Wake's got long athletes, size up front, and that's just the type of DNA that VT will struggle with this year. So with that and the fact that it's a Sunday road spot, it could be another flat, shitty ACC non-con effort here from the Hokies, Jim.
Yeah, I kind of lean Dayton. I gave them a bunch for home here, like a little extra than normal.
I agree with that.
I think the crowd will be up, and I'm at the point where they've played well enough that I'm kind of writing off those 3 bye game losses, which maybe I shouldn't, but I basically have them where I rated them at the beginning of the year. I was like, okay, they've shown it in enough games, especially down in Orlando, that I can put them back there. It seems like they're playing to it. So I kind of lean towards Dayton, but it's not hyper strong. I don't want to square off head to head against my guy Kai here.
Thanks.
All right, Matt, let's go to the next one. Another ACC team playing a neutral site non-conference game. This was in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Florida State and South Carolina. So does that mean the Gamecocks get a little bit of home value here, Matthew? Or does that not matter? Quick note, big injury news is Jermaine Couisnard, the point guard for South Carolina, is out for this one. Does that give the Noles the advantage, Matthias?
Yeah, I was leaning Gamecocks before the Couisnard news. I was hoping he would give it a go today, but without that, I can't. I know we say injuries don't matter, but Couisnard is a big-bodied physical guard, paces them both on offense, keys their defense. I just like how South Carolina can match or close to negate Florida State's speed and size and athleticism on the wing. It's sort of like looking in the mirror between these two teams. And Florida State's a better team, but just in terms of the DNA, what the makeup, they're very similar. I think just when you have those types of settings, the dog usually has the edge here, Kai. So I should be on the Gamecocks, but no Couisnard. No play for them.
Kind of similar to VT. FSU has no good wins. Their best win is LMU on a neutral. You got to think they come out pretty hungry here. Haven't played in a week either since that Syracuse loss. They have had a lot of time off. You got to hope Hamilton used that time wisely. South Carolina's coming off that big win against Georgetown. Georgetown shot like crap. Before that, remember, South Carolina lost by 24 to Coastal Carolina. Not a great game there.
Without Couisnard, I believe.
He played like, 12 minutes against Georgetown. Didn't really seem to matter, but up and down game here, Jim. I like the over, probably the best out of anything in this game. Line does feel a little bit right. I am leaning towards Florida State with the Couisnard news.
Yeah, these teams are kind of mirror images of each other. They force a ton of turnovers. They're sloppy with the ball. They go after the offensive glass, but they're not very good defensively on the glass. So I'll go with the better team, the one that actually has its point guard. This is my best bet today, folks. Florida State -6.5. I am rolling with the Noles here. I think the Couisnard thing really matters. You can just look straight at the Coastal game for how much it can matter. And they got blown out by Coastal Carolina, blown out. So I think Florida State, as Kai mentioned, desperate for that big win. Feels weird to be riding with an ACC team in a non-con game, but let's go Noles. I will stick with it.
I do think, quick injection here, I think South Carolina is going to be a buy low in like a week or two. They got Wilson back now for their fourth game in a way. Keyshawn Bryant's fourth game. Martin. I do. Me and Frank Martin are boys. So you get Couisnard healthy. I'm in on this team when healthy. Kai, give it a couple weeks.
If South Carolina had like
Let
12
marinate.
guys just off the street out of the YMCA. And Frank Martin said, this is my most talented roster ever. Matt would be like, oh,
I'm in. Where do I sign?
Yeah.
Where do I sign? Just
He
like
loves listening
completely
to that
suck.
guy.
The coach speak completely suckers me in every time.
Mhm.
That's okay.
All right, let's go West, Kai. We're going to talk Pac-12. Two teams that have, quite frankly, stunk this year.
Oh, yeah.
Oregon headed to Stanford. Oregon has some injury issues. We don't know if Eric Williams is going to play. And for my money, he's been their best player so far this year. But meanwhile, Stanford has no guards. They could have some issues against this long Oregon team. I don't know, Kai, which one stinks less today? Which ones get their first Pac-12 win?
I hope it's Oregon, Jim. I'm going to officially lose faith in Oregon if they can't win this game. I don't think Stanford's very good at all. They haven't played in 2 weeks. So unlike the week off for Florida State, where I think actually might help them, Stanford having 2 weeks off, I think they had a game canceled in there. I think that matters. Maybe they come out a little slow here. Oregon obviously needs this game like blood. They're both 0-1 in the conference, but I think Oregon probably, Matt, is more hungry here. I'm kind of banking on them waking up. It's going to be ugly, probably lean towards the under as well. But man, you're basically saying, okay, who wins this game with the spread here, -1 and pick? I'm definitely leaning towards the Ducks.
The Pac-12 is going to be, it's like a deja vu to 2020 Pac-12 or 2019 Pac-12, where every game's just like, what? Really? That's the result? That was the final score? And I think this is the start of that, where I see like one team wins by 20 and you're just like, oh, okay, so Oregon, I guess, is good now. Or, oh, Stanford had a random good effort that we were waiting for the last 2 years. Here's my concern with Stanford, though, Jim. Their 2-point percentage defense. 56% opponents are shooting inside the arc. That's supposed to be like the calling card of this team. Length, strong defensive front. If they're not getting stops, I don't know what this team has to fall back on. I mean, there's some pockets of talent. Obviously, the 5-star freshman Harrison Ingram, who's been tremendous. He just has no help on offense right now.
Matt, the funny thing is that Oregon's given up 55.2% inside the arc.
Is this an overplay?
I don't know. Like both these teams weirdly have a soft underbelly. When you look at their front courts, like that should not be the case, but they have struggled to get stops, especially against teams that attack the rim. So yeah, I'm with Kai. I just like, this is kind of my Custer's last stand with Oregon. And if you know how Custer's last stand went, that's probably not a good sign for the Ducks. If they blow it here, if they just lay a stinker, then I'm going to be out on them until further notice. They've taken a little bit of money, and it feels like as half-hearted as Oregon's offense. It's just like, I don't know, I guess. So Ducks are nothing but probably a stay away. Both these teams are hard to trust. All right, last one on the outline before we get back to the chat. I know there are a couple questions coming in there. So we've got a big one in Brooklyn, the last one in Brooklyn for the day. Ricky Pitino in the big city taking on Yale. Matt, this is kind of a weird one. James Jones doesn't have a coaching advantage. Usually that's like our big thing with Yale. Iona, definitely a big advantage in the paint. Nelly Jr. Joseph can probably eat in this matchup against Yale's front court. But no Elijah Joyner for Iona. That hurts them in the backcourt matchup.
Yep.
I don't know. Where do you see this one?
Well, if you take away Joyner from the equation, you could make a strong case that Yale actually has the better backcourt. I love those guards.
I think I would make that case.
I think so. I mean, you have the better, generally, Kai, if you're betting on a dog at catching 5 and you have the better backcourt, better guard play, that's usually a pretty good recipe for value. But as you mentioned, the coaching edge negated by Ricky Pitino. Something about Pitino too, coaching at a grand stage in New York seems like a good spot for him. You know, like he's on the bright lights, look at me type of moment, right? Like sort of like he's now elevating himself back to national relevance. He has this awesome at-large possible team, and this feels like a showcase game. Even though it's Sunday and it's against Yale, it's still on that type of stage. I would not want to bet against Iona today, Kai. That's all I'll say. Even though I think Yale is the better backcourt without Joyner.
I'm really not surprised Iona got bet up. They've been looking great. 7-3 against the spread, beat Alabama, obviously. And Yale, prior to that, bounce back against Albany, who might be one of the worst teams in the country. I mean, they just got the doors blown off them by Seton Hall and Auburn. They just don't look as good as normally that we're used to seeing from a Yale team, a Jones coach team. It's a lot of reliance on jump shots. It's a lot of reliance on Swain. And I really am scared of that Nelly Jr. Joseph matchup inside. I think Iona potentially could win by double digits in this game.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be like the same blueprint, but what Iona did to Alabama, where they just took away the 3-point line, if you can do that against Yale, like they're pretty reliant on, like Kai said, the jump shooting of Swain and Mahoney and even Cotton and Gabadon at times. So yeah, it's probably Iona. My number makes it closer to punching back against this team, but I don't want to fight the market and Rick Pitino at the same time. No, thank you to that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go back to the chat mob, fellas. Yes. Got a lot flowing in here. There's a couple games tipping early. Did we get all the early ones, or are there any we need to get to?
Let's see.
Well, Jim, that's a good question.
I think we got all the 11 a.m. Central tips,
we did. So we did indeed.
Take it.
We're basically gonna hit every game, but you know what? It's Sunday, and you guys showed up and watched the video, so you might as well talk every game. Seattle, UC San Diego. Jim, I know you probably have a lean in this game. What do you think?
Yeah, I lean towards the Red Hawks. This one is not on campus, so I don't know how you want to treat giving home here. This is at the Climate Pledge Arena, but Seattle's played there twice already, so they have familiarity. UC San Diego does have travel. The big question is Rochak for UCSD. He did not play last game. He's one of the most important players in the country, super high usage guy. Even if he's in, I kind of like Seattle, but if he's out, I think it's not a home run, but it's a very good bet if Rochak is out. So keep an eye out for that.
Love Seattle. Without Rochak, sorry, Kai, I'd argue Seattle has the three best players on the floor.
Definitely.
So with
Rochak's the highest used player in the country. Yeah,
he's total monster.
And he's awesome.
And he's just good. Yeah.
Matt, this one's been brought up quite a bit in the chat.
Has it?
Very, very fun. William and Mary in Fairfield of all teams. Someone mentioned in the chat, William and Mary still winless against the spread, 0-9. Fairfield 7-1 against the spread. They've been kind of a wagon. The spread's like 7.5, 8.
Yeah, anything? Market's been all over those splits.
Yeah. What do you think, Matt?
I have to take Bill and Mary here. I know they're a complete dumpster fire. And I mean, I guess let's reframe that. They're young. They're very much treating the season as a rebuild, lay foundation, try new dudes.
You don't need to reframe it. They're a dumpster fire.
Okay, fine. I don't know why I'm being the PR team for William and Mary. Yeah, they're not a good basketball team.
They're on payroll.
Kai, 7 points to Fairfield on the road. What? I got to take Bill and Mary here. Not for a lot, just a little sprinkle.
I lean their way.
I got to take
Fairfield's been frankly good.
They've been good. I know. Yeah. They've been good. Them and Maris both.
Jim,
teams.
Another Colonial team, Northeastern, and Davidson. Davidson's a 3-point favorite on the road here. Who do you like?
Well, Kai, I don't have a side here. This is one where our old pal Alan Boston is going to lose his mind with how great the coaching is on both sides here. The execution offensively is going to be really impressive. There's a chance Davidson's like the second best team in the A-10. I think if you filter out preseason priors, they are the best one. Like they've been better than Bonaventure this year without preseason influence. But Northeastern's healthy now. Jogo just came back last game, had a big one for them. They've got Walters in there. They've got Tyreek Scott Grayson in there. So they're about as close to fully healthy as they're going to get. I don't really want to fade them right now, and I don't want to go against Davidson either. So stay away, enjoy.
Matt, Wofford, Coastal Carolina. Wofford is a 4.5-point favorite at Coastal, the team that beat South Carolina by 24. We didn't mention that already.
I like Wofford a lot. I was sort of down on this Coastal team, but I did watch them their last game for who they played. Not the other game. This one after South Carolina. They have a lot of length, man. They're athletic. Yeah. I think it was Mercer. That's right. They are athletic. Deem at the point of attack. He's just a slasher, make stuff happen. I think Wofford's awesome though, and the home's not a lot here. I would lean the Terriers.
Jim, Iowa State is hosting Jackson State. Wayne Brent. Can he hang around for the first half and then get blown out in the second? What do you think?
Jackson State first half. Done.
That would certainly be the lean. If you're going to bet Jackson State, I would go first half. I saw someone talk. I think Matt Winnick was mentioning the under. Yeah, I lean that way. Jackson State was missing has been missing Gabe Watson and Isaiah Williams, 2 power conference down transfers. That really robs them of some offensive potency. I think they got kind of lucky to win against Illinois State. Iowa State's just awesome, but man, that was an all-time home run spot for them against Iowa. There's certainly going to be potential for a letdown, especially in the first half. So that's the way I'd lean there.
Matt, last game before we get to the best bets, it's 2 teams that suck to fade. Navy is at Marist -3 in favor of the midshipmen. What do you think?
Very torn. I do lean Marist. I just made fun of the MAC teams in the prior segment there, but I think it should be closer to a pick 'em. Nothing other profound there. Matchup wise, just think the line's a little too high.
All right. Best bets, Jim.
Best bets. I don't. Who's up first, guys? I got to pull.
I think I am.
Outline. All right, Kai, I'll kick it back to you. Mine's already declared. I'll reiterate it at the end, but disputed. Give it to him, Kai.
Guys, check this out. We're taking Pitt. We're taking Pitt +1.5 at BetRivers.
I thought we barred that from That was part of the policy of the show.
It was. Yeah, that's right. I'm fading undefeated ATS Monmouth with the Pitt Panthers. Pitt's covered 3 straight, guys. Wake up, Pitt. Here we go. The margins of the games they've played last 3-1-1. So it's been very close. This game will probably be close as well. Pitt has 2 big advantages here: the glass and the free throw rate disparity. 4th in free throw rate in the country. Monmouth 277th in defensive free throw rate. Hopefully, there's some hometown reffing. Pitt goes to the line a lot. Disadvantages: coaching, huge disadvantage here for Pitt. Be afraid. And then Monmouth, of course, is gelling, Matt. They're just a cohesive team. They look awesome this year. I'm just hoping for a huge day from Hughley. I think he does have a huge day.
Hugely.
15. Is it hugely?
No, I'm calling him hugely because it's huge. He's
hugely important today.
Yeah. Hugely is going to have a huge day. Pitt plus 1.5.
Love it. Actually, no, I don't. Actually, I kind of hate it. I'm just sort of robotically responding to an endorsement there, but no, I think it's a terrible play. I love Monmouth. Sorry. I hope you win though. I'm taking Hampton. It's a Pirates live for me today, Jim, +9. For some reason, people think Loyola Maryland is 10 points or better than Hampton. I know Hampton's been a little bit of a mini dumpster themselves this year. We
8.5 BetRivers.
8.5. Okay. I'm still anything above 7 for me is worth something there. They beat Norfolk at home. I know that was a really good spot and a bad one for Norfolk. So you have to sort of put an asterisk next to that. But Norfolk's a really good team. And they controlled Bill and Mary last game. I know they're terrible, but it was still on the road. You have to give them some credit for that.
Yeah, that final margin of 1 isn't indicative. They're up like 7 the entire second half.
Most of the way.
That was my best bet that day, Matt. So hopefully
that's right.
Hampton
We're going back to the Hampton well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to follow in Jim's footsteps there. This team's just too talented to be 9-point dogs to Loyola Maryland too. I still don't quite trust their guards at all. So
except Cam Spencer, that guy rocks.
Spencer's been great, and I thought he'd be hurt this year, but he's really fully healthy and he doesn't miss anything when he's open.
Yeah.
Hampton brought Dickens off the bench, the Old Dominion transfer last game. He's like one of the best shot blockers in the entire country, but he fouls incessantly.
I've given up on him completely.
I think that helped him though. He like didn't pick up the 2 quick ones. He was able to play 17 minutes, get 4 blocks like that. It helped him get into the flow of the game. It was the most minutes he played.
Best game of the year by far. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So I think that did help. All right. And then as a reminder, my best bet was Florida State -6.5, tipping off in 8 minutes. Let's go Noles. Going to find out early today if the Wee boys are feeling it or not. So
great.
Let's go Florida State. Kai, anything else in the chat we should hit before we go?
No, sir. I don't think so.
All right.
We did a great job today.
Yeah, we did.
Good job, guys.
Nice job, guys.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in on a Sunday. We appreciate you getting up and hanging out with us. We'll be back on Tuesday. Only 8 games tomorrow. Nothing very interesting. So we're going to take the day off. We're going to rest. We're going to recover. You should too. We'll see you Tuesday. Have a good one.